Church D coming at you once again. Thank you for tuning in to What Does It Take to Win? First off, I want to say Happy New Year. I know it's been a while since I've taken some time out to speak with you guys over this podcast, but I had a whole lot going on. I experienced so many changes over this past year. So, I'll be sharing some more details with you, or if you want to reach out to me, feel free. You can find me on social media, or you can send me an email at churchdsproductions@gmail.com, and we can kind of catch up and I can brief you as to what's been going on in my life. But today, I figured that it'd be a fitting topic to speak about unresolved trauma. So the title of this episode is Conquer Unresolved Trauma, Don't Let It Conquer You. I actually have 4 points that I want to deal with. The first one deals with relationships, both business and romantic, or just, relationships that you may have with your friends and family, etc. The second point deals with the effect it would have on your mental health overall. I know in this day and age, people are now beginning to wake up and kind of focus on, their mental health and what we can do to just sort of stay sane in this day and age. So, yeah, that's point number 2. Point number 3 would be how it affects your productivity. You got to get things done. We live in a microwave age right now, so everything has to be done quickly. And if you're traumatized, that can slow down your productivity and your progress. And the final point kind of ties it all together. I just wanted to give some pointers and some things that I used in order to learn how to heal from the unresolved trauma. Because believe it or not, all of us, we've dealt with some form of unresolved trauma, whether it's as simple as falling down at the park and scraping our knees and saying, hey, I'm never going to go to a park again, or something really deep that, we may have experienced through other people. So let's just jump right in. Okay. So let's start with the relationships. Now, if you don't resolve your trauma, unresolved trauma can actually cause you to sabotage your relationships. I want to first start talking about the business side of the relationships. Not every relationship is romantic. Not every relationship, deals with individuals like on the family or romance level. So let's start with business or on the friendship level. That's what I meant to say as well. So, yeah, let's start with business. As far as business goes, if you don't resolve your past trauma, it can actually cause you to begin to victimize yourself. Victimizing yourself is like the worst thing you can possibly do, because not only is everybody anti you, but that you're kind of saying you're never wrong. So no matter what you do, everybody else is anti you and you're never wrong. And that type of person is very difficult to communicate with. So here's an example. Let's say we work in corporate America and you're a vice president of the company. You have to answer to the president or the CEO of the company. If you're so used to the unresolved trauma of not being able to submit to authority because of whatever went down in your past, and you begin to victimize yourself, there's going to be a major power struggle there. For example, anything your manager, your supervisor, the CEO, anything they ask you to do, you may not realize it, but you might find reason to believe that they're picking on you. And if you are finding that, hey, every little thing they ask me to do, they're picking on me, or why do they always ask me to do this and not somebody else? Chances are you may have the victim mentality, and it may be because of an unresolved trauma that you failed to deal with. And so that's going to end up causing people to not want to work with you. They're just going to not want to be around you because that's an unpleasant attribute to have, an unpleasant characteristic to possess, especially in the workplace where you have to be professional. On the flip side, some people deal with their past trauma, and it will cause them to be overly aggressive. Now, a lot of us, we've worked with those who are overly aggressive. I've done it in college. You always get assigned to those group projects where it's 4 of you guys in the group. You kind of got like maybe 1 or 2 of them that don't really do the work. Then you have the overly aggressive individual, and then you'll have somebody like me who's like, hey, let's all work together, guys. But that overly aggressive individual, they kind of want to take everything over, do it their way, And if the ship is going to sink, then it's kind of on everybody at this point. They don't necessarily want to take the blame for it, but yet and still they want to be in control. That's not a good characteristic to have either. So you can kind of see like the polar opposites. On one hand, it's, yeah, I'm going to victimize myself and kind of back myself into the corner and say, hey, why is everybody picking on me? Or you'll be overly aggressive and turn into like a tiger and just try to, go at everybody and charge at everybody. Both characteristics are something that many people are not attracted to, especially in the professional arenas. So that's something to kind of, closely examine as far as when you're trying to deal with your past traumas. Now, let's talk about unresolved traumas as it pertains to romantic relationships. It seems as though dating and getting married in 2019, yes, I know we've made it to 2019. It seems as though dating and getting married in 2019 is growing increasingly difficult. It's like people don't leave their houses, and the ones who do leave their houses are really crazy and nobody wants to like settle down with them. Yeah, it's just impossible to date and get married in 2019. A lot of people have said. And a lot of that is due to unresolved trauma. So for example, let's talk about a romantic relationship. So let's say you're a couple, you get together, one party, came from a very good background in which they saw love prosper and, just people getting married and staying married for decades, until death did them part. The other party, not so much. The other party may have seen like lying, cheating, etc. The worst things that you can think of, you name it. This party may have experienced that, or just, kind of grew up watching it. And so you have these two people, both are very good, both have like, the purest of hearts. But one has experienced the trauma, and the other one is just like, yeah, this is going to be cool. We're going to get together and be married and live happily ever after. The one who's experienced the trauma, if they haven't resolved that trauma, they'll begin finding fault in everything that the other party does. So literally the other party could just be trying to, I don't know, do something special, be nice to them. Hey, let's go do this. Hey, I bought you this. Hey, I'm going to take time off of here to, spend time with you. And this other party who has not dealt with the unresolved trauma, they may see it as, oh, why are they behaving like that? Oh, are they trying to control me, or are they trying to manipulate me? And it can just go on, and it can really be harmful to their relationship and just cause it to end. So that's something that we have to watch out for as we enter into romantic relationships. Hey, do I have unresolved trauma that I'm still dealing with? Am I holding on to feelings from my past that somebody may have caused, or did I see somebody suffer and go through something? And am I subconsciously saying to myself, I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to do is demonize anybody that remotely reminds me of this trauma that I've either experienced or witnessed. So we have to be very mindful of things like that. So, let's talk. That was all actually point one. I know it's a lot. I'm going to try to speed this up, however. Let's go to point two, talking about, mental health. So unresolved trauma can actually lead to depression. Right. And some of the symptoms of depression, now I went on Google and I looked this up, so y'all can do the same thing if you want to fact check me, because it's 2019 and that's what we do. Some of the symptoms of depression include changes in your sleep patterns, a loss of appetite, your concentration will just be on the decline, and certain self-esteem issues. Now, that is a lot going on mentally. I don't know about you, but as for me, if I'm at work, or if I'm in the studio, or if I'm on a gig, or if I'm on tour, and I just have all these thoughts going through my mind and I can't sleep, I can't concentrate, I can't focus on the music that I'm playing, it's just going to it's not going to help me. It's bad for my mental health. If I can't sleep at night, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to be grumpy. It's actually going to affect my physical health. As it said, it's going to affect my eating patterns as well. If you're not sleeping properly, chances are you're not eating properly. That weakens your immune system. You start getting sick, and then it's just downhill from there. You end up with a big medical bill. You don't want that. So you have to, take care of your mental health and make sure that this unresolved trauma is dealt with. Okay, let me speed down. My other point, number 3, productivity. Productivity. Somebody had said you can be busy all day, but if you're not productive, you're not going to eat. Take some time out to think about that one. I'll say it again. You can be busy all day, but if you're not productive, you're not going to eat. If you have the unresolved trauma sitting on your brain, that's what you think of 24/7. You can be busy. You could be here, there, and everywhere doing something, but nothing gets done. So, you have to figure out how you're going to remain productive and still deal with the unresolved trauma that's happened in your past. So let's say somebody offended you. Let's say you're on a tour and somebody offended you probably an hour before showtime started. I don't know, you're in a foreign country and one of the locals, they've never seen somebody who looked like you, so they started mocking you and calling you all these names, and they're going to show up at your concert. How are you going to deal with that? If I were you, I wouldn't focus on that. I would just try to get that out of my mind and just stay productive and, get my work done. As we progress, I'm actually on my 4th and final point, and it's going to kind of tie everything in together. You have to learn how to heal from your unresolved trauma. That's the biggest thing. Learn how to heal. So here's some steps to healing from it. First off, you're going to have to confront your unresolved trauma. Have a seat after you have like your little mental breakdown, or after you get into some sort of altercation with an individual and you realize to yourself, there was no need for us to even get into that altercation. What really happened? What's going on with me inwardly, internally? And just have a conversation with yourself, or just sit down and think and say, okay, what drove me to behave like this? I'll use myself as an example because that's what I do in my podcast. I use myself as an example. I was actually somewhere doing something musical, and this lady had walked over and she was talking to one of the people who were in charge of, of one of the arrangements. Okay. And she said to them, she was like, oh, well, somebody didn't learn their music. Now, I actually took offense to that. Although she wasn't talking to me, I found myself getting offended by that. And I had to stop and pause and think, okay, why did that offend me? I knew the music. I played everything correctly. And she wasn't even talking to me. Why did that offend me? And so, I thought back to my past when I was younger. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, people used to do that to me all the time. Even when I knew the music, they'd come at me and say, oh, you don't know the music. And I'm like, man, I could write this music because I know it. But I had to deal with that trauma. I had to confront myself and confront the unresolved trauma and, kind of allow myself to heal. So that's, one step. The second step for healing from this unresolved trauma, don't dwell on it. I know it's difficult because your mind will begin to wander and somehow circle back to it, but you got to just take time out and not think about the trauma that you've went through. Don't think about any type of abuse or any type of stress you had to deal with. Don't think about it. Think on happy things if you need to. Go through some of your old pictures and old videos that make you smile and just think on something that makes you happy. Another step, you can use it as a learning tool. And that's actually what I did. As I mentioned, the lady who was speaking about not knowing the parts. I used it as a learning tool. Take a deep breath, take a step back and say to yourself, okay, now I'm reacting in this way. Why am I doing that? And how can I go forward without reacting like this? And lastly, just understand that you're in control. You have enough power to prevent this trauma from happening again. You're in control of your life. I said this in my previous podcast. You're fully in control of what you want to be, you're in control. So anybody that you interact with in the future, any business transactions that you're trying to make, any relationships that may be a potential for you, you're in control of it, and you don't have to be traumatized again. You kind of know what to expect, but don't allow that to kind of to have you prejudge the situation. Just use it as a tool, use it as a guide, so you'll know which red flags to watch out for and certain triggers, so you won't fall back into that same trauma, and you'll be good to go. Thank you for all of your time today. Thanks for tuning in to this podcast. I hope it blessed you. I hope it encouraged you. I hope it inspired you. Hey, if you like it, be sure to click the share button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find me on YouTube at Church D. Check out my website. I'll put the link in the description below. And until next time, thanks for tuning in.